So hello, Scout.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me come here today and chat with you.
Thank you. Thank you much for your time.
Sure.
So,
My pleasure.
It's my great honor. I'm so excited today because I got to meet Mr. Scott Page, and you're a legendary musician, technologist, entrepreneur. You've been involved with legendary bands Pink Floyd, Street Trump, Totos, and also worked with some amazing artists like Bon Jovi, Jenny Jackson.
You've worked with a lot of them, yeah.
A lot on the countless. I don't even know.
Does that make me old? Does that make me old? I guess it does, right?
No, you look absolutely fabulous. So yeah, today was at Los Angeles, and have a very casual conversation with Scott.
Here we are, beautiful shutters. It's a gorgeous day here. We're in Santa Monica, California. It's been raining like crazy for weeks, but we got a beautiful day here. And this is actually one of my favorite hotels in sort of Los Angeles. It's very nice here on the beach.
Better Beach,
very nice. So I'm very thankful to be here with you. Nice, smiling, beautiful young lady, and we're having a good conversation.
Definitely, I'm glad I didn't bring the more rings from England.
Yeah, no more rings. We got enough of that. Thanks.
Yeah. So first of all, probably I would want to ask you, as a musician, technologist, and an entrepreneur, how was your transition journey? You know, because for lots of people, it's hard to masterize one or two things. You masterize. What was the starting point for you?
Well,
journey.
It really goes back to my parents. My father was a serial entrepreneur and a musician. And I grew up on a television show called The Lawrence Welk Show.
Oh, yes.
And The Lawrence Welk Show is still running to this day. It's the one, I believe I could be wrong, but if it's not the number one, it's either number one or number two longest running television show in history. And it's still running to this day.
Wow.
And so my father was not only an incredible musician, played 14 instruments and all that, he was a serial entrepreneur. We had lighting businesses, boating businesses, candy business. At one time we had 26 donut shops. We've had, my dad was the inventor along with Brad Plunkett. Actually, Brad was the engineer that built the wah-wah pedal, the famous pedal, right? That's a very famous, today, one of the historic music instrument pedals. Then he also started what was called the Vox Sound Lab, where he started the first amplified instruments, which then became Sound City, which is one of the most famous recording studios in the world.
Yes. And so does your dad had expectation on you, like, okay, which path you should
No, not my parents were, I got very, very lucky that my parents were, I won the lottery. I have the best parents that ever lived. They were incredible. They never forced things on me. They didn't push me to be a musician. I was actually studying to be an architect first. So I was in design and drafting all the way up into college. So I didn't really take music seriously till I got into college. Now, I played trumpet when I was younger, and I did that for my father to just sort of stay in music, because he was a musician. He would always say to me that, you can play music gigs on the weekend, make a little money, you don't have to work in a gas station, you can kind of do that. Not that the gas station working is bad, it was just a different kind of thing. So I kind of played for him a little bit, but didn't really take it seriously till I got into college, where I got in a kid band called the Merciful Soul Band. And Merciful Soul was a band that had Jeff Porcaro and David Paich, who later became Toto. Right. So this is pre-Toto years. And so we were, I was the second trumpet player in the band. I was the worst guy in the band at the time. All these great kid musicians. I was the oldest and the worst. But we would play all these gigs. And at that time, I had a job with a company called Audiodyne, where I was a draftsman, where I was drawing exploded views of parts for manuals, for instruction manuals.
Is that how your technology side kick in, with combined with the
Well, what happened with that is like, after I got into that thing, I really started taking the music side on real heavily, because all of a sudden we were winning all the Battle of the Bands, and it was
very empowering.
It was very empowering. But the best part of it was there was a lot of girls in the front row. And I'm saying, I'm a draftsman. I'm not seeing any girls. I'm going to be a musician. This is my kind of life. So to make a long story short, I got into the music thing. I started studying like crazy, and finally kind of got my career moving forward, got some lucky breaks. But then it really you know, during that time, always been thinking about 3 careers in my life. I always wanted to be music first, and then I wanted to do business, and then third was documentary. And what's happened is the documentary part of it is where the phase I'm in right now, except I'm doing it differently because of NFTs.
Right.
Because so I'm still telling the story through my archives, which I'm actually very excited about. I just launched, actually just this last week, I sent in all the files, about over 8,000 pictured files, photographs. My entire career, my entire pretty much life is actually going on a hard drive that's being dropped off on the moon.
Oh, wow.
On the actual moon. So in June, it's going up there. It's in Elon Musk and NASA. Big deal. 244.
How are we going to witness this historical time?
244 artists are part of this project called the Luna Prize.
Right.
And it's a special hard drive that will last for 1 billion years.
Oh,
it's like it's laser etched stuff. So they have just put all my stuff along with all these artists. It's going to be going up there, and they're going to drop it up on the moon, and then they're building a metaverse museum so you can see everything that was put on the moon. So yeah, so I'm very excited about that. But you know, getting back to the other part, so you know, during this time I've always been intrigued with business, and so I've started business. I'm on my 4th business now. I was able to take one of them actually public. Back in the day, it was a NASDAQ company, so I got to ride through that. So I've been one of those guys that have been kind of on both sides of the fence. Do
you manage to balance?
Well, again, I look at the music business and business in the same light. So I try to, you know, I mentor a lot of artists, and I try to explain to them. I mean, most artists look at the business side of it. They don't want to, they hate it. They don't want to. They just want to make stuff.
It's very time constraint.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I want to make stuff, and I don't want to. And I try to explain to them that, you know, is it a business or a hobby? If it's a business, if your business is to live off of your music, then you have to take it and approach it like a business. So I push the fact that there's the art of business and the art of making things. So if I can make something that people actually buy, that I generate revenue from, that then I can reinvest in more things that I can make, it gives me the opportunity to make stuff. But being around my father and seeing businesses, he was a full-time musician, but we did all those other things all the time. So I think it was instilled in me. So I love business a lot. I really love the art of it. The ability to try to figure out how to make something that people care about enough that they'll actually buy it. So I've taken on the business where, like I said, I'm on my 4th startup. I was lucky enough to take one of them, a company we took public, where I did the world's first interactive cartoon musical with my friend Richard Merrick, who was our CTO at the time at a company called 7th Level, which is the world's first interactive cartoon back in the day on 386, 25 megahertz
How
Windows
does that
machine.
work, interact cartoon?
Well, you remember when you could, well, perfect example is you know, you click on something and something happens.
Okay.
Right? So the idea. And then we were working on things back in the day there where we had infrared, where you could interact with you in the machine. So it's really thinking about interactive entertainment. And back in those days, it was, you know, games are interactive. You do things, you go down different paths. So sort of really, that was my area early on. So I got really into that type of interactive storytelling.
Right.
And I was able to produce a handful of pretty interesting titles. I did all the Monty Python series, Complete Waste of Time, The Holy Grail, and all that, and plus a series of other games and educational titles. So I got really involved in that. And that got me into the tech space. So all the companies that I've launched, 4 of them have all been around technology, building mobile messaging networks and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
So connected. I realize you are very forward thinking. The things we're actually in the technology phase now, you already think about that like the years ago.
You know, what's so interesting to me is what's happening right now, especially when you look at NFTs.
Oh yeah, we're touching on that.
Well, they're so they're so misunderstood. They don't understand what they are or how powerful they are, but they're the greatest thing for telling stories, and they're interactive. And
exactly. I think there's lots of audience out there. I mean, as with NFT, everybody's is that just the digital art and you have a piece of something moving and that's it?
No,
but actually it's more than that.
Oh, no. You can build business models
around.
Remember, an NFT is really a contract.
Mm-hmm.
and then I can assign the rights, roles, and permissions to whatever I attach that contract to, and that allows to creates value to that object, because now I can claim it as unique, one of a kind,
Mm-hmm.
and that can have value, especially if I can give you the rights to go make something with it.
Yes.
So I could take a project of mine, do a piece of it, and say I hand it to you,
Yeah.
and then in the smart contract I can maintain my royalties, and I can just leave it alone. And then as it goes off, and every time it's bought and sold, I'll get my share of it. I mean, people need to realize that NFTs really represent freedom for the people.
Yeah,
It is a really important.
decentralization.
It's really an
Yeah.
important technology
Yeah.
that most people need to learn and understand, and so
And
that's
also
where I
keep our
focus on
own
my time.
right as well as artists.
Oh, yeah,
So
artists.
It's very important for the creators.
Oh yeah, I mean, because if you look at the music business, especially, there's no place to sell music. As an artist, what do I sell? I can't sell music. The two things I can sell is the relationship and the experience. If I create an experience, a live event, go to concerts,
Yeah.
whatever. Now with NFTs, I have something else I can sell. I can sell the relationship and the experience, but I can also tie it to.
Utilities.
I can also tie it to a physical good or a
Utility,
digital
yeah,
good
yeah.
that can have value.
Yeah.
Right? Because whatever that value could be, a piece of art that I collaborated with, that there's only 100 pieces with a famous artist,
Yeah.
now that thing has value, right?
It seems like a glue. It put everything together, like
Yes.
kind of missing puzzles
yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Well, talk about NFT Web 3. So also, I mean, we touched a little bit when we have the other conversation about AIs.
Oh yeah, we can get into all of this.
I mean, this is a huge topic, obviously. It's so progressively happening with the technologies, but as another hand, we have to sit back a little bit saying, okay, what is the boundaries, and we talk about soul, or as artists, creating from the soul is so important. And how this AI gonna affecting the artists, and also there's so many AI can generating anything, and it seems they don't need artists anymore.
Yes.
But then the soul generating is something it can't be replaced, in my opinion. So.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing: like we talked before, consciousness is my favorite subject,
yeah.
right? And at the deepest level, everything is just a vibration or a
energy
is energy, right?
Yeah.
So there's a case to be made that the machine is energy too. It's consciousness in a sense, because of it's just energy, right? Now, the universal mind, or the whatever you want to, you can call it God, you can call it nature, you can call it the soul, you can call it conscious, whatever works for you, right? I happen to be what's called a non-dualist. I believe that there's no, everything is just one thing. There's no duality. There's zero duality. There's no God up there and me here. It's like, because God's me, you, we're just all part of this universe.
God is within us.
Well, it's in us. We are.
Exactly.
I mean, at the end, that's why we
creators.
were made. We're part of the whole consciousness thing.
Yeah.
Now, with AI, first of all, I think it's probably the most dangerous time and thing that we've seen in a long time. I mean, there's no question, because it's learning from us. I personally believe, I think that humans are just designing themselves out. They don't even know it. No, I'm serious.
Experiment.
Well, remember, every day, millions of people are now jumping into Chat GPT-4, right? GPT-4.
Oh, that's so powerful.
And they're just putting information into it. So the machine is just learning for the millions of people that are putting data into it all day long. So it's just growing and growing in knowledge. Now, that would be one thing if it wasn't controlled, couldn't be controlled by somebody else, right? The human condition starts getting in, and you got people that are greedy or that have an agenda can now start programming that bias into these machines, to where we don't know what's true. The machine's telling us something, but it's telling us based on what was kind of told to give you. So we're in a very scary part. And then what happens is, now
you can't identify exactly from the AI or actually from the things behind the AI.
Well, let's say the AI creates something that is a specific thing, and then the AI is learning from the AI. So it just learned more bad information.
Oh gosh.
Right?
Sounds like a bad loop of circle.
No, this is going to be, this is a very, very, very interesting time for humanity in so many ways, right? So we're in a very, right now, there's so many things that are culminating in this next 5 years. It's like this, it's like the industrial revolution on steroids, because AI is going to change everything. I mean, I read an article the other day that said that on a global basis, they see 300 million jobs going away like fast.
That's easily with AI replacement.
300 million like that.
Yeah.
Right. That's the size pretty much of the United States, right? What, 300, 400 million, we're right in that range. So like, just imagine that amount of people, all of a sudden there's no work.
So what happens? People do?
Well, that's the point, right? And then what you have is when you look at the AI, when you're a kid and you're going to school and you need to write a paper, that's what they're doing now. They're creating a paper and they're not really learning. The AI is doing the work for them. So what happens to their minds not thinking?
Very passive receiving information.
Be passive instead of like a thinker.
Exactly.
You're going to be basically just a receiver of whatever this says.
There's no philosopher anymore.
Well, that's the point we're at right now. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I can tell you this. I am so glad that I grew up through the periods of time I did, because when I was growing up, there were no cell phones.
Yeah.
Right. Gasoline was 28 cents a gallon, right? So I remember that. Yeah. That's crazy, you know, and I would fill up my Volkswagen for $3, right? The $3, I'd put 10 gallons of gas in my car and I was good to go. And no cell phones, which was great. I mean, I remember getting in my car when I left, and when I was living with my parents when I was a kid. It was like, woo, I'm free right now. I'm going out there. Nobody can contact me. Nobody can do anything. If I want to make a phone call, I had to go find a phone booth, try to find some place to go make a call. So those periods of time made life a different thing. And now that we're living in these things, like, 24/7, it's a little bit, we could actually say that we have now already merged with the machine. Because how many people are walking around with this not in their hand? It's not injected into us yet, but it's pretty close. It's like, everything is here, right? Your whole life is basically managed
I think that's a really important topic, is on the soul level, as probably so before. How distinguish soul and the technology? Yes, because technology cannot replacing the soul, because soul is so vast. They have enormous intelligent actually than any machines and any quantum computers, because as you deep level, the soul knows everything, but we just hardly touch into that deep level, because we have so many. I mean, like I was spending sometimes with the indigenous people at Amazon in rainforest in January, and I see the way how they live. It just so back to nature. We integrate that's where we integrate. We integrate with the nature, with the mother planet.
Fibonacci sequence, right?
Yes.
That's where it gets in, right?
That's all right here.
I know. There you go. My girl, that's
Sparrow.
It.
And they really had a very, intelligent wisdom about Pachamama, the earth, and who we truly are. And we lost so much contact, our core.
Well, we're lost in thought. Remember, mind. I equate AI to like ego in thought, right? Because many people are identified with thinking, right? They think that other things are real. Because remember, the only thing real right now is you and me. Yes, this is my favorite topic, and I always talk about it. Yes. Well, the only thing that's real is you and me talking right now. Yeah. 5 minutes ago when we were over there, it's an illusion. It's nothing else than a thought. 5 minutes from now is a thought. So this is the only thing that is real. And it's the only thing that can be changed, right? Yeah. And you'll blink and you're going to be 50 and you're like, what happened? Time is an illusion. It's a complete illusion. We make it up in our head, but there's only one moment. It's always the same moment. Yeah. There can't be two moments. It's impossible. Yeah. Because if I walk over there, the moment I'm changed, I go to my car, it's the same moment. It's the moment is there in your reality. So for me, it is this idea of like, finding out who you are really comes to the point of really trying to realize, are you the watcher or the thinker? There's this voice. Because remember, the mind isn't capable of knowing truth from falsehood. It knows no right or wrong. Your mind can't determine if something is right or wrong. It's not that. It's the consciousness underneath. And easy to prove. If the mind was capable of knowing truth from falsehood, right from wrong, there'd be no war. Yes. Right, because who would be saying go blow up somebody or kill somebody? Right? It's insane.
That's really interesting, because I think in that conscious level we realize in one, regardless of what nations we're from, regardless skin tones we are, and we actually are the same as with the other living beings as well out there, and we're all connected. So when you're all connected within the bigger, cosmos, how can you hate each other? How will you hurt each other?
What happens is when you start to when you become more aware, it's called awareness, right?
Yes.
You start to see yourself. Like when I'm looking at you, I see myself.
So exactly.
It's like that thing, right? Because there's that different bond and connection. That's why attention is so important when you're talking to somebody, because having that attention is where magic happens, right? Because it really is. That's one of the great gifts, because most of the time people are like, oh yeah, great to see you, man. It's like this. And they're like, yeah, it's so, man, I haven't seen you in a long time. What's going on? Oh, it's great. Who's over there? How am I looking? I'm like, look, okay, my thing. Like everybody's in this thing. So they're lost in thinking, and they're not stopping and smelling the roses. That's what the powerful of that statement is. Stop and smell the roses doesn't mean stop and smell the roses. Literally, it means being all of a sudden shutting down thinking and being fully aware and fully present. Because when you're fully present, you see life. Now, everybody talks about awareness, but the problem with awareness is, how do I know I'm aware that I'm aware? That's the puzzle to solve, because your mind or your ego will say, okay, I'm present now, I'm here. But is it really? Or is it your mind fooling you that you're present at this moment?
Yeah, how would that identify your way to identify the mind talking, or is the soul generating the truth?
So that's the puzzle to go through. And so for me, the greatest gift, or the greatest tool that helped me, now, I was a fanatic about this. Like, this is all, I mean, truthfully, everything I do every day is always about, where am I? What am I feeling right now? Am I feeling any anxiety? Am I feeling any anxiety, tension, or fear? Because if I'm feeling that, I know I'm identified with a thought, because I'm having a drink talking to you. There's nothing wrong right now. The world's not crumbling on me. I mean, everything is fine. In reality, everything is okay right now. Now, that doesn't mean there's not things I have to deal with, that I, projecting that I got to deal with. There could be problems and all that, but it's when you identify with those and you make them be like they're the real thing. So that awareness of how do I know I'm aware that I'm aware? Because your ego will play games with you. Because remember, spiritual ego is probably one of the most dangerous things there are, because your mind will make you think, hey, I'm so awake. It's just like what I call the woke movement, right? Okay, people talk about this wokeness, right? And it's so funny to me, because truly in the world of spirituality, everything is about, I mean, we talk about it, it's about kindness and forgiveness, compassion, all those things, right? And so when I see all these people on this woke, like this woke thing, you look at their Facebook page, and it's got, like, they've got the rainbow colors, they're supporting that. They're talking about their yoga class. They're talking about meditations, spiritual awareness, be kindness, forgiveness. And then something like Donald Trump will go by, and then it's like, right? And then you go, that's just that just shows you how asleep you really are. Because in reality, you don't use what I call hate in the name of love. It's okay for me to hate, because what I'm doing is so loving. I'm so morally. You remember, and that just tells you that you're asleep. Those are pointers, because if you're turning around and having hate for something else, you miss the point. Because everybody does the best they can. And everything happens the way it happens. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. So for me, I live in a constant state of forgiveness all the time. If something happens to me, if somebody rips me off or burns me, it's not me. I feel bad for them, because we're connected to the source. And remember, the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth does not mean, this is where everybody gets it wrong. Oh, because you did it to me, I can do it to you. No, it means if I do it to you, it's going to happen back to me. It's karma. It's obvious. It's totally the opposite. So when I say, if I do something to you, I'm just going to get it back, and it's going to turn around, right? So these are things that are really important.
I wish lots of people understand that, the consequence, in especially the global stage too.
Well, that's the first thing. The first thing is people need to want to take the journey, right? And that's why a lot of times when suffering you can find the seat of grace in everything, because that gives you that opportunity to wake up.
Without darkness, there's no light.
Exactly.
And I always say that come to the dark side of the moon.
Dark Side of the Moon, 50th anniversary. Holy cow. I mean, that's crazy, right? That's crazy. And you know, that record has been on the charts. I think it only fell off the charts like a little bit in a few years total, but it's been on the charts in the top 200 for 30, 40, 50 years. It's kind of crazy.
It's so legendary. I mean, why do you think actually that album is so phenomenal,
you know,
in the old time, as our living time?
I think what happens is if there's a sense of honesty about the record that is just transcends and remember, and when we making those records back in the day, we didn't have all the tools we had. We can't fix everything.
Yes.
You know, we didn't have auto tune to make things go. Yeah. You know, we only had so many tracks that you could record on, so you had to commit, right? You had to like, okay, that's the one I'm going to keep. That's the solo, right? So it's a totally different thing, and it's so interesting. An interesting observation I had. We did last year. I produced the 2-night events for NFTLA. So when we had the conference, and we did it at a place called Wisdom LA, which was these immersive domes, 5 immersive dome park, really cool space. And so we had all our sponsors, and we were projecting on all the domes, and we had everything. And the one night we did a Floyd show with my Think X band. So we did a kind of a Pink Floyd exploration of all the music. Yeah. And the second night, I don't want to say, but there was a very famous DJ, Steve Aoki, who I like a lot, and it's great stuff. But what was fascinating to me was the night that we did the Floyd thing was all live music and everything, and just the energy level you could feel amongst everybody in the place. The place, it had a different kind of a feel, because what I noticed the next night, because everybody's like zombies, like walking around, right? That felt very dark. It didn't have that light soul. It played almost on the dark sides of things that you know what I mean? When you look at all these raves,
it's still in the channel.
It's like
it hasn't really came out to the channel.
Well, you know, I mean, again, I believe we're in a spiritual war now between good and evil. This is a war against God. I mean, you can see that there are forces trying to destroy churches and God, and taking getting rid of Christmas and all these things, because there is a group of people that basically follow a demonic or a Satanist ideology, which is really, I listened to this whole article, podcast with a Satanist priest who had been with the church for like 40 years, one of the top guys in the thing. He left. He said he couldn't take it anymore. He was done after 40 years. Right. And he said, most people don't, he said, the guy interviewed, so what'd they say when you said you were going to leave and you were going to start telling everybody? He says, they all laughed. He says, what do you mean they laughed? He says, no, he says, you don't understand. We're already in we own your music business. We know your music entertainment business. We're in your schools. We're in the banks. We're in your government. We're everywhere. And he explained, he says, it's not, everybody thinks, oh, kids sacrificing animals in the back room, something. He says, that's not it. What it is an ideology that's this. It's all about me. If it feels good, do it. Morals are secondary. So if I have to hurt you to get what I need, that's okay. Oh, that's all right, because I'm taking care of me, because if it feels good, whatever it is for me to do it. That's the ideology. And you're seeing that now. You start seeing what they're doing with the children through TikTok and through all these things. It's like crazy, turning them into like, oh, I want to be an influencer. Well, you're 15 years old. What are you going to influence? And yeah, okay, you're a beautiful girl and you're sitting there, lip syncing disgusting lyrics and stuff. And you're like, what the heck is going on?
It's come down to the education. As it come down to educations, I mean, I'm involved with this charity called the Power Zero. So we actually helping especially younger generation from 2 to 6 years old, parents and grandparents, guardians, how to helping the younger generation navigating this online world, because kids have a tablet as early as 2 years old, but they do not know
they're handing these phones to them at ages.
It's not safe for them to navigate it. There's safe. So many things on the internet, how to filter the thing, how to use it. And also I think it's so important to teach the kids, I was saying, resilience, compassion, kindness, all these necessary value which is not been taught actually
No.
in the early age, but this is actually so essential for the next future generations.
Yeah.
Actually,
This is, like I said, they
rather than on a TikTok.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay, but it depends on, I think, intention.
Well, it's not okay if you're
intention.
controlling the algorithms to basically make people do things.
Okay.
That's a different story, right? If your
Dangerous.
intention is to destroy a society, if that's your
I
game,
think intentions are really important. Again,
absolutely, everything's about intention. I mean, it's just like all this stuff they're breaking on these race wars. We never had these issues. I mean, obviously there was race, but now it's heated up at a level nobody can even talk. So I always try to tell people the most dangerous thing is this politically correct movement because it silences the people. Yeah, we don't need to get into the politics side of things, but why it's important, at least at this stage, is this is the moment we have in history, I believe, where the people can take back the power of the currency, take back the power of all of this stuff, if they learn and wake up quickly. If they don't, we're going to be slaves to robots. That's going down.
We don't want to do that.
No, that's why.
That's the Earth, probably not, the planet is not going to exist much longer.
No, because here's
that path.
The one that's the most scary, and I'm going to tell everybody, is the central digital currency, the CBDC coin. That is the most dangerous thing we could have right now because that's a central banking system that everybody is connected to, which will be run by robots. And if that's the case, so now they're going to have access to your bank account. They'll control your bank account. And so if you decide that they don't want you to do anything, then you can't use that money. Oh, you used up all your carbon credits. Sorry, you can't buy any more carbon credits because the machine won't let you spend money on that. So this is freedom. We're fighting for freedom now at a level we never had. That's why I'm in the business I'm in, is because this is a freedom play. The people, we have an opportunity to be as freer than we've ever been, or be enslaved worse than we've ever been enslaved. And that's the last thing we want. So I'm a big proponent of decentralization and the power of the people taking back the power of all this. And the good news is there's more of us than there is the people that are trying to control everything.
Very empowering, very empowering. I think it's like kind of people have to be really aware. I think it's about awareness, really.
Yeah.
It's about listening to your own intuitions.
Right.
Really have able to, I think you also said before, the stillness, that's where the creative juice comes. That's also when, you know, most inspirational thoughts come as well.
Yeah.
When you're in that stillness, when you able to, the music, able to connect within, and able to hear yourself, and you understand what exactly truth it is, without everybody just telling you what to do.
No,
I mean, nobody actually, we don't have to, you know, we don't have to passively listen, you know. I think it's just you know, in tuning yourself, listening to the higher consciousness.
Well, that's why I always say the most important thing is an inward journey. There's nothing more important. I don't care. Every parent, everybody out there, I'm telling you, there's nothing more important, because you're going to blink, you're going to be 50, and you're going to blink, you're going to be on your deathbed. So the goal of life is to die before you die. And that is surrendering to what is and realizing not to get caught up in the mind and get locked into thoughts that can make us crazy. Because I could be sitting here like, suffering. And the reality is, I'm talking to you, drinking iced tea.
Cheers.
Cheers. Good job, right? So in reality, everything's okay, right? Right. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. So come back to the Dark Side of the Moon with the Pink Floyd. What is the most magical moment you with them?
Well, with Pink Floyd, well, now, just so you know, I didn't play on Dark Side. I came later, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I think,
with Pink Floyd.
Oh, I mean, I got so many moments. I mean, it was, it's clearly changed my life dramatically. I mean, there's no question. And I'm a huge Dave Gilmour fan. Musically, he changed the whole way I play, the way I think about music. He made me realize the power of playing melodies that people can play instead of trying to play a lot of notes, or a lot of gymnastics and try to show off and all that. It's about playing things people can understand and put some soul behind it, in a sense.
Aligns with the
I mean, there's so many moments. I don't even know where to even start. I mean, I got tons of great stories. Some I can talk about, some I can't. We have a code of ethics in the thing. I'm glad that I was able to. All that time was no cell phones. It was good, thank goodness. had more fun than a human being. I'm alive to talk about it, which is really crazy. You know, I think for me, it was, again, always being kind of a business person. You know, I always approach things, I look for patterns. I try to learn. I'm a sponge. I just want to learn. I'm always learning.
School of learning.
I'm just like, everything is about learning. I just want to learn. As long as I'm learning, I'm feeling good. So for me, because at that time, I was really into wanting to get into producing and putting on events and doing that. So I had sort of the e-ticket to go out with, at the time, the biggest band in the world, doing the biggest concerts and really seeing how they move this massive production around the world. I mean, because it was crazy. I mean, I was like 60 trucks carrying steels and all this stuff that's going on. I remember seeing people with, the tour passes that went up to like 140, 50 people, like we're moving around. So it was this massive, hi there. So it was this massive thing. So I really kind of befriended a lot of the crew. I used to ride with all the truck drivers all the time. And I would always hang back and want to see how the production worked and got to know a lot of the people and really learned a lot about what it was to make this happen. So I got a lot out of it. So from a business point of view, it taught me a lot, like a whole lot. And then from a music point of view, like I said, Dave Gilmour changed my playing, made me play entirely different. I mean, some of the times where, we were just having moments to sit down and really have a deep discussion with a guy like David Gilmour, and not just surface kind of, but like really talk about things was fascinating to me. I mean, that was one of the most amazing things. And, then sometimes we would do shows where I walk in the dressing room and, there's frickin', Prince or, Paul McCartney or Eric Clapton or somebody there, right? All these my heroes. So I got to meet a lot of people through that, and really, I mean, I don't even know where to even start. I mean, there was so much. Obviously the thrill of standing up on that stage, and sometimes we played. The energy was incredible. I mean, the people love Pink Floyd. We used to laugh because our tour pass, we would call it the key to the universe, because you could, just as a thing, you could go to a restaurant and you'd say, "Excuse me, can we get?" "Oh, I'm sorry, this restaurant is sold out. We don't have any room." "Oh, right this way." It would like they put
something we can be arranged.
we can figure this out, right? It's just amazing how what's in a name, priority, right? It was just fascinating to see. Not that we would do that a lot or anything, but it was just it had that power. And
I think they have the people's language. I think they touch a lot about read about
the story.
Stories.
Yeah, I mean, look at the wall right now. If you go listen to the wall and you look at what's going on right now, it's pretty timely.
The time is about they talk about the violence, the time, the death, and the mental health. Changes. It was a one time. It seems like after 50 years, we still have a similar timing again.
Look, we do our Think X shows. We've been doing a lot of kind of exploration of Pink Floyd shows, and they sell out. It's crazy. That brand just never stops. People want to come back, experience it. One of the things that I loved about Floyd when we were touring is you'd see parents and they'd be bringing their kids. So it was always a family affair. It was amazing to see the families and everybody
together. Lots of people grow up with Pink Floyd, in the 70s
and how many people
80s,
come up to me and say how it changed their lives at such a level, and it changed mine, that's for sure. And just to be a part of that history at any level is just incredible.
That's the power of the creativity. I think the power of the soul.
And I'm actually very excited because this moon launch, right, at the 50th anniversary.
Tell us a little bit more about this moon launch.
So, okay, so here, let me see if I can show you this here.
Is that the current your project working on?
Yeah, so we're, let's see here, moon, let me go here. Let me find this here real quick. We're going to get there. Okay, so I got very lucky that I was picked to be where is it here? To be the cover of NFT Today magazine this month, which you can see there. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. But what was interesting about it is this cover, along with the artist Ori, who picked me. That's how this moon thing was picked as one of the artists that's being put onto the moon. And so he put my cover in this, plus about 50 some NFTs
Yeah.
there. That was going. And since then, I actually talked to him about wanting to put up my entire everything.
Oh yeah.
I have every Pink Floyd photo. I shot thousands of them. All my Supertramp photos, all my Toto, all my memorabilia, everything I have had, I have now documented and put on, and it's going on to the moon, in the June. So I'm actually excited because I'm actually get to be on the moon before Pink Floyd. I'm bringing Pink Floyd to the moon. So they took me to the moon. Now it's my turn to take them, right? And doing, like I said, we've been doing our Dark Side shows and people love them. And it's timeless music and it's always wonderful to play. I'm getting ready to go to Italy and do it over there with a bunch of folks in another couple of weeks.
So what is your, next agenda these days that you're playing, and how are we gonna find out more your business involvement and your shows? Yeah,
so like I said, I got heavily into this Web3 business. It's all I do every day. I'm focused on that. We just launched our platform. My company, I have a company called Lootfinity. We launched Loot 8, which is our NFT platform. It's an experience platform. It's an NFT experience wallet.
Is it ready?
It's out. Yeah, it's on iOS. It's on Android, and it's also in the browser. We just launched that just a few weeks ago.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited. And so now we're starting to onboard companies, and I'm getting ready. We just used it at NFTLA, and we're getting ready next week for the National Music Center, National Music Merchants Association, which is the NAMM show coming up here in Los Angeles. And then we're using, I'm a keynote speaker at the Tulum Crypto Fest coming up in May 5th. And then, actually I go to Italy before that, but then I come back, so I'm speaking there. I'm also going over, I just finished speaking in Dubai. I'm getting ready to go over to Belgrade, which is going to be great, in Serbia, to do a big blockchain NFT conference. So I'm keynoting, speaking there. So I'm happy we're launching our stuff, and I'm now partnered up with the Shiba Inu guys here that are actually going to the moon. So I'm very excited about my relationship with these guys. Are like really smoking, and so we're getting ready to that. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff for the rest of this year. I'm slamming.
Super excited for you.
I got launching my big NFT collections. We've actually created the NFT, the cover. It's going to the moon. We've actually set it up so we can create 8 billion unique NFTs.
Oh wow! Where can we find an NFT? Which platform you're?
What we're going to do is we're just now going to integrate with Shiba Inu, which is $6 billion company, one of the largest chains out there. So we're going to be building our app. So Loot 8 will be using their layer 2 blockchain, and so I'm excited about that.
Watch out for that.
Oh yeah, you're going to watch out and get ready. So what I'm doing is I'm going to give out as many of these NFTs that are part of the Moon collection, and I have basically, I think it's 106 that are actually on the moon, which I've signed and we've documented, and they're on the blockchain. So they're going to be on the moon, and so we're going to put those in as golden tickets. So everybody that gets everybody gets these, maybe they'll get lucky and own the one that comes on the moon, and then they'll get the rights to it, and they're going to get to have it. They can go into this lunar museum, and they can say, "Hey, that's my NFT right there," right? So we're gonna do that with the goal of really, about educating people about this space. That's really where my head's at, education. And I'm also launching Rock Money. Rock Money is a collection that I started with Arthur J. Williams, the famous artist, painter, who is a very interesting guy, wonderful guy, but he paints $100 bills into everything all of his paintings. He's an artist, and they all have $100 bills. And the reason is he's considered the world's greatest counterfeiter. He actually was the only person that's ever counterfeited the $100 bill and got away with it for a while. Then he ended up getting caught eventually, and he ended up to go to camp for about 8 years for doing that. But during that time, he became an artist, and now he's a philanthropist, great guy. And so we did the Rock Money collection, which is made up of where he's taking my photographs. He's doing mixed media, so he's taking some of my Pink Floyd photos. He's taken was awarded a handful of Rolling Stones photos that have never been seen, and then also Stone Temple Pilots, Scott Weiland through Jamie Weiland, and we're creating those works. And then I have a whole bunch of NFT artists that are building on those works, and that's all about decentralization and people taking back the power of the currency.
Especially with the dollar.
That's right. Especially with what dollar? You mean the 5 cents? It's not even worth $1 anymore.
It's inflation.
So yeah,
Great. I mean, it's just so amazing have this conversation with you.
I love talking to you too.
Very inspiring, honestly. And so we can follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And Twitter.
Yeah, all of those things. I mostly, it's all I am Scott Page. I am Scott Page across all the channels. And yeah, you can find me there. And people DM me. I talk to them all the time. So I mean, I'm pretty accessible if need be. So please, yeah, come follow and find out what we're doing, and keep your eyes open for Loot 8. I'm very excited about that. I think we've solved big problems in the crypto space to bring anybody on, because the whole design of that is just, it's for anybody that understands, just uses Web 2 kind of thinking, and they don't have
transformation from Web 2 to Web 3.
Moves you into Web 3. It's very simple and very easy, and I think we've got something pretty exciting, and I'm really happy about the Shiba, because they've got an incredible blockchain, and I think it'll work really well with what we're doing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. You're so nice. I love her. She's awesome.